Hello everybody, welcome back. I'm going to be your host tonight, Dana. There's a lot to get through. There's a lot to get through. We're good to go in a moment. It always takes a minute to get up to speed. UFC has a Meltdown game. I've never seen nothing like that before. What are you going to do? And this is the 19th of January 2025, and we have the Trumps taking the seat tomorrow, right? So I don't see any sense in doing a show tomorrow night, because like every time, normally I like to study that stuff on that day. I usually collect probably 10, 12 gigabytes worth of stuff. I mean, you might never use it. It might be no good, but I don't like, because that very first day with any kind of major event is the important day, and so I'll be looking into that stuff for sure. This is crazy stuff, right? They're promoting food from a nuclear wasteland again. And this is the craziest thing I've ever seen. This was the weekend. It was really interesting. I noticed you got 993,000 views 8 hours after the stream. I think when the stream was over, they had like 560,000 or more, 600,000, which is unusual for the weigh-in show. But when I got to the end of the show, this is what because it's a bunch of politics, right? And so I followed this stuff quite a bit. So they didn't know what to make of it. The participants, the commentators, the colored commentators, and it doesn't make any sense when you're looking at it. But you see the word meltdown? That's Daniel Cormier, DC. He was light heavyweight and heavyweight champion at the same time, for goodness sakes. How much skill you got? This guy, he ended up taking the belt. He got a belt for surviving the meltdown, I guess. I got no idea. And what it is, you'll see in a sec. I have to mention it. You got Laura Shenko there. She's the first female color commentator in UFC's history. Really good at her job. She's a former fighter too, right? You got Angela Hill coming into the ring. If you don't know Angela Hill, probably this girl puts off a war in every fight. She was a surprise guest. She probably made that outfit she's wearing, actually. And you got Chris Weidman. Wiseman, I think it is. Stephen Wonderboy's brother-in-law, I believe. So you see everybody taking their place. It's the strangest thing I've ever seen. See everybody taking their place on these. There was a Japanese fighter there, and one of the questions Chris Weidman got wrong was about Japan's flag. And then, because I have to switch off sometimes, right? So outside of nuclear, this is one of the rare things that you'll catch me watching. It's meant to break my concentration, but it's really hard to do it. I usually work when I'm watching this stuff, right? But it's the one few things. There's no politics typically, and this was politics. It was quite surprising. And so they're jumping up in the air, and this thing is spinning around, and the other one got a duck underneath it. And Laura, she's just the sweetest person in the world, the same as Angela Hill. And DC, of course. What do you say to somebody with his pedigree, anyway? I think he was, I His wrestling pedigree is incredible. Before he joined the mixed martial arts, and he's only lost to John the Bones Jones. And just love Angela. Every fight she's in is going to be an amazing fight. And so she's starting to do color commentating too. So they're jumping up near, and this thing, they got to jump over if it's low, and if it's the tall one up here, they have to duck underneath it, and that's the whole game. So it's about that word meltdown. See, it's about turning it in. It's a subconscious thing, right? But the game is supposed to appeal to like a 3, 4, 5, 6-year-old. And as far as I know, 3, 4, 5, 6-year-olds don't go screaming, "Mommy, mommy, mommy!" Put on UFC, right? They want cartoons. And so the Japanese who designed this, because you know this who done it. It's what they do. They jump up. Chris Weidman's like, what do I? Nobody knew what they're doing. No one knew what it was. They just go in there and figure it out. So that tells you right away that's a Japanese game, right? Only the Japs are that fucking stupid. And DC gets knocked out of the ring. And the other commentator, for some reason I can't remember his name. He's not a fighter, but he's really good. He just got knocked down that time. He's going to fall into the ring with DC, or DC's and Angela Hill. So her case. But what the hell is this? A nuclear meltdown game? It's everybody will agree it's the stupidest thing you ever saw. But and DC trying to put a triangle choke on. What the hell? My brains just went flat on me. I know this guy all to pieces. His name. But anyway, look. I mean, eventually they just tell you to get out because you made a mistake. No one knows what the mistake is. There is no rules. No one was told anything about this. See, Chris Weidman doesn't know what to make of it. Laura doesn't know what to make of it. Everybody's totally confused. Are you supposed to jump to each one? Or are you? So this was about dumbing down. And I don't know why, but there could be some significant reason for this. This is a really big audience that typically knows nothing about nuclear, has no concept of Fukushima. And Fukushima, of course, got 14.2% of children out of every 100,000 need open heart surgeries for congenital malformations. I mean, out of 100,000, these 14,200 children need open heart surgery down there. There was 13,646 out of 38,000 children with thyroid tumors. Used to be 1 in a million. And so this is not obviously not meant to appeal to anybody with kind of intelligence. The people that are participating have no concept of what they're supposed to do. Everybody's just looking around, and anyway, eventually it's over. Thank goodness. And DC is under control. He's speeding up or slowing it down. Let's go back and look at that for 1 second. Yeah, because 2 of these are the color commentators. Why are both of them there? It's hard to make a mistake with this equipment. It looks like it was designed for children under 6 or 7 years of age, right? The game does. If like, there's a stretch to call it a game on top of that, right? And so they got nuclear, and then they got bio weapon symbols there. And doctors in the 50s and 60s described Fukushima nuclear fallout as a biological weapon. And we got a lot of studies on that, right? Where that's from years and years ago, and we should revisit that stuff again. And it was a bit of a head scratcher, but I understood there's something going on. I'm worried about tomorrow now. I know Dana White is going to be at the big WIPP party tomorrow. And It's such a strange thing because these people are educated people, and they want you to just jump up here, get in the air, get out of the way. But there's meltdown, not nuclear meltdown, which definitely means we're talking about Japan again, right? And they got different symbols too. Right alongside the meltdown, they got a big one, and they kind of got like a little printed out one kind of. They must have stuck on there with tape or something. Does anybody know what? Everybody just gave up, basically. Laura gave up. She's like, I don't give a shit. I don't know what to do. Nobody knows what to do. He won the belt. He's not a color commentator, but he's heavily involved in that the official what they call weigh-in shows. It's mostly these people talking about statistics, really boring stuff. Which is good for someone like me, right? Because I'm trying to switch off from the horrors, the absolute horrors of nuclear. After all these decades, and after all the research expeditions that we carried out. Let me keep going here. If you're from UFC, hang around for a minute. Don't go just yet. I just need you for another couple of minutes. I know, like, who the fuck are you to say that to us? I'm Dana. I'm sorry, I'm Dana. Durnford. I'm also known as the biggest pain in the ass the nuclear industry's ever seen. You can call into these shows. I'm in Canada. I'm sorry about that. 709-589-4406. 709-589-4406. La 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 la. And I know I'm not UFC, right? I don't have 600 or 1,200 employees, whatever it is they got. What have I got done to everybody? What have I got done to you? Not the Hulk. I'm not Spider-Man, that's for sure. I'm not some superhero. I'm not. Remember, Krypton is a brutal isotope, right? The Hulk was created by nuclear waste, which typically kills you. It doesn't make you into a superhero. And same thing with Spider-Man. These were co-opted by the nuclear industry to indoctrinate the vulnerable of society. And you got all these superheroes replacing moms and dads, right? It's hard. How do you replace a child's superheroes, see? And they got GoPro hero, they got guitar hero. The word hero doesn't very rarely exist anymore. And when you see people participating in a brutal cover-up, you got to worry about it. You definitely got to worry about it. So hang around for a minute. I'm not just almost to the point I want to make here. The United States was hit the worst fallout the year after Fukushima began, believe it or not. And you know the numbers, like there was 20 million atoms of iodine particles, even worse, of iodine-131. That was a Canadian study in British Columbia. But we know there's 10 times more 132 iodines and 30 times more iodine-133 for every iodine-31 produced. There's 31 times more iodine-129 for every iodine-131 is produced. And per liters, we're talking about these numbers. Iodine-129 was at 220 million atoms per liter. 131 was at 20 million atoms per liter, particles. These are numbers we never conceived pre-Fukushima. These are catastrophic to every species and everything with replicating cells. It takes a few decades to play out, and we're seeing that. And the biggest byproduct is curium isotopes. And curium isotopes, you need lead shielding 20 times thicker than you do for plutonium isotopes, named after the devil. And that iodine-132 and 133 are 9 times more efficient at ionizing and radiating the thyroid glands of every species and every human on the entire friggin' planet than the brutally effective iodine-131 is. And the amount that we're talking about that buried North America sustained for many months, it wasn't just these isotopes. The 131 doesn't go away. 129 doesn't go away for 15 million years before it even starts to decay. So-called, not decay, but change into another isotope. And then they have a chain. They call it a decay chain, but the decays is explosions almost at the speed of light every second for millions of years, typically. It's not a decay. Grammar is a weapon, right? Radioactive cesium spiked at highest levels ever recorded in history on the EPA's radiation network after Fukushima. Cesium, by the way, pulses energy 600 feet, so it's not just iodines. Radiation levels spiked a million times. Numbers of the French government study at 10 million atoms per cubic meter of air. So this actually happened. This was a real event. And significant amount of Fukushima radiation detected on the west coast, British Columbia and Canada and United States. And the east coast. It wasn't just the west coast. Scientists have no clue what's coming. The real goal was downplaying damage to the Pacific Ocean. Because, like, this is a radioactive fallout. One of the models coming up here. This is the plutonium dispersal to your left was based in 20 days. It's much worse than that. We've done research expeditions for 6 years. We're still doing them. But this was from Vancouver, British Columbia to Alaska, 4 to 5 months a year. And the species to your left are actually exterminated. Like, I worked like a fucking dog to get out there in that operation you're looking at. And it might look like fun, but I can guarantee you there's no fun looking at an extinction event. That's an fucking extinction event, okay? So when I see stuff like that, it really worries me that the nuclear industry has corrupted who knows how many more. It's such a despicable thing they done there, right? And the color commentators, I'm not blaming them. They had no idea, right? They had no concept of what that was. The species to your left are exterminated. I went there for 6 years, 4 to 5 months a year on the ocean. I covered the whole coastline, 4 to 5 months a year without coming home. We sacrificed everything to go find out the truth and provide it so that nobody can say they didn't know. Nobody can say they didn't have the evidence. So we can hope, have a conversation about it, and maybe find a future for the future generations, because the species ain't going to be here. And there's nothing on this planet that has an autoimmune trigger to defend against anthropogenic man-made radiation. And everybody and every creature on this friggin' planet was drinking it, breathing it. We're still forever surrounded by it. Life is on this planet has changed forever. Did Fukushima radioactive fallout break the food chain in all oceans, resulting in mass die-offs worldwide? Yeah, that's exactly what it done. I know, because me and a small group of people that are here put together an operation for 6 years, went out and sacrificed our lives, risked our lives in the most dangerous environment in history. Is the west coast of the Pacific Ocean. Is a nasty, scary, frightening fucking place. And despite the fact that you got 27,000 islands up there, you got 3 million rocks just below the surface will take your fucking leg off your boat or sink your boat, right? It's a very dangerous 19-foot tide exchange. And we went up there and worked like a dog, hoping we were wrong, even though we knew the fallout was real. Right? There's no illusions about what happened. And the industry's biggest concern was covering up the damage to the Pacific. And that's what you see going on right here when you see stuff like that. It's heartbreaking. Alrighty, let's keep it rolling here. Hello, everybody. Welcome, everybody. What do we got going on here? Let me see. I had another story put together that I wanted to cover first. And actually, I know where the story's to. Let me go get the story. James Lucid got it on there. He made a video about it. And he might have a big surprise for everybody in the near future. If everything plays out today and tomorrow, hopefully. Radioactive cream box. I'm going to cut the sound off. Actually, it's okay now. This was a story. Can I leave that going in the background? Oh, yeah. Let me get back here. 7 cream box. 7-Eleven cream box. 7-Eleven cream box in Japan's newest must-try convenience store suite. This was the story I was supposed to cover, but for some reason I can't find it. And he put together this video. I don't know what to say, man. His last couple of dozen videos since he started doing this on top of that are just insane. And this AIMS type stuff is really popular in Japan, right? This is hugely popular stuff. Like they're fanatics about this particular type of cartoons. Didn't I see? Did he have a couple more signs? Chinko, I think that's Spanish. Diaz is Spanish. And Bromsenlong is German. We know what Bromsenlong is. Oh, he's got it done in a different language. I love it. Oh my god. So this was a 7-Eleven cream box. He tried to promote it, but Google called it disinformation. Pretty much every region in Japan has a specialty that's beloved by the locals and oftentimes is exclusive to the area. And so this person who wrote the article couldn't wait to try this so-called cream bread from Fukushima Prefecture. James put together this video to articulate the madness of growing food in a nuclear wasteland, feeding it to the most vulnerable of society, and targeting the children. And like the video, the stuff he's using would be massive in Japan. Really, like they live for this. The whole country's got a culture of this type of caricatures, right? And he tried to promote it, and Alphabet said that it was disinformation. Nuclear industry has infested everything, hasn't it? By the way, that first song we started off with was from James' site too. I can't keep up with all the music because of the videos I'm producing. So I'm going to start trying to incorporate it into the beginning of shows too. How am I supposed to... there's nothing out there competes against this type of music for what we're doing, right? But anyway, the so-called person in this story couldn't wait and traveled all the way to Koriyama. And you know about Koriyama, where you put the big boxes of water around the children's school to shield it from radiation, gamma shines and x-rays and neutron bombardments, rather than move and editor it. So UFC is participating in serious genocide and omnicide. And I hope they don't do it again. Very disappointing. you do it again, I'm going to blast Dana White. I'm going to do a whole fucking show on why he shouldn't promote that. It's comfort food like you've never experienced before. Yeah, like that is incredibly talent to pull off what he done in the video. He does all the work himself. We're very proud of that boy. He's produced more anti-nuclear music than the entire world combined, probably. Not probably, but he has. Did Fukushima radioactive fallout break the food chain in all oceans, resulting in mass die-offs worldwide? Well, yes, it did, Dana. Global nuclear renaissance. What are you talking about? Last year, there was 660 gigawatts of solar power came online. That's equal to over 700 large nuclear reactors coming online in 12 months. They can barely build a reactor now in 17, 18 years. The United Kingdom's reactors, what is it going to be, $53 billion over budget? What the original estimate? There is no nuclear renaissance. They're trying to promote small modular reactors because they have the 14 biggest financial institutes are buying temporary shares in stocks, artificially inflating the price of the small modular reactor non-companies. They don't have a product. They've never built a small modular reactor. After 80 years, they still haven't built one. What the fuck would you invest in them for? And then the 14 biggest institutions since Conference of Parties 29, the United Nations last year, Constipated Party we call them, have decided to promote nuclear, and 14 the biggest financial institutions are buying the shares. And 2 weeks later, they'll dump their share. But along that little journey, mom and pops are investing their life savings right in these small modular reactors. You see the shares go skyrocket. They don't know nothing about nuclear. And a week later after that, the 14 financial institutions will sell their stocks. And they stole all mom and dad's, people who worked their whole fucking life, stole their life savings. The whole nuclear industry is like this. That's probably who's buying all the shares when the bottom falls out, so they can sell them again 3 weeks later when the rinse and repeat fucking cycle. So Sam Altman, whose sister is suing him in civil court for just hideous sexual crimes against her since she was 3 years old. And they like that, like Bill Gates or Amazon or Alphabet or Facebook, Mark Zuckerberg, whoever. They say small modular reactor shares rise because of the propaganda machine is switched on, is looking for any opportunity. And all the media will come out, push that narrative, and the most vulnerable of society buys shares and lose all their fucking life savings. It's called racketeering, right? There's a racketeering statute designed specifically to take down these people. And all of these, everybody write these types of headlines suggesting that there's some kind of renaissance or some kind of movement in the small modular reactors are lunatics, because they don't even, after 80 years, they still haven't built one. They don't have any licenses into the regulatory agencies. They're not going to be building one. They're not buying land. They're not acquiring the material. There's no supply chain out there. They're just robbing people. And it's just not only that, they're poisoning everybody. From Fukushima, they're shipping that fucking food worldwide. I spent 5 hours a day trying to put a door. I went in yesterday and picked up a new door for the shed, right? Because we got all the equipment in there and the fucking thing is destroyed. I spent 5 hours a day trying to install it. What a nightmare. What a fucking nightmare. I got it in though. But holy shit, that was horrible. And then tomorrow it's going to rain, but I got a bunch of work I got to get done tomorrow, because the day after that it's going to drop fucking down to minus 17 a state or get worse. So tomorrow's the only day anyway that I can actually work. And then we have the inauguration with President Trump coming in. I wanted to watch that and gather up that material. But I got a lot of work to do. I got to get another caliper for the a driver's side. That thing gave out when I was coming out from the city yesterday. And I have to pull the wheel off tomorrow and see if I can use it for a little bit till one shows up. I have to order one tomorrow. And without that, we can't go dragging the skidoo all over the fucking place and doing research. Some nightmare, man. I got some nightmare ahead of me. I wish the fucking UFC would fucking kick in. Back some real people for a fucking change. Oaklow, you can find links in my description if you're there. The very bottom of the description is only 2 ways to donate. Never had an issue. Anyway, I don't give a fuck. Backed by Sam Altman, unveiled nuclear energy deployment deal. There is no fucking deployment. There is no small modular reactors. And the company, the nuclear company that they're talking about, let me get the Geiger counter out of the way. That was screaming along at almost 300 earlier. I don't know what it's been doing since we started the show, but a rendering of their powerhouse, a rendering. That's the closest you're ever going to get to that thing too, right? They're never going to fucking build it. Geothermal's under everybody's feet worldwide. Why would you waste a nickel on fusion or the stupid, idiotic small modular reactors? You know, at least with the fusion, they're trying to fucking build it, right? Yeah, they're always 50 years away from finishing it. But small modular reactors, they're not even trying to build it. Like, there is no companies. Like, they can't mass produce it. They got to build it at one of the national laboratories, run it for a decade, get the fucking kinks out of it, re-engineer it, get it back to the regulatory agencies. The original applications, 5 to 10 years. And they're screaming, like, you gave them all the money they ever fucking wanted, and they can't fucking build anything. They just steal everything. And I'm not kidding you. It sounds crazy, but that's what they're doing. They're stealing all the money. Right? They haven't had any new designs since, what, the 50s or something. And fusion design they're using is from 1904. Right? The generations that are working now are the inbreeds, and they're not capable of coming up with something exciting or fucking new, thank God. But the old stuff is nasty, dangerous, and emissions are catastrophic, everything with replicating silt. On Friday, Oaklow stocks rose 2.6%. Oh yeah, well, every 2 or 3 weeks this is what happens because the big financial institutions are buying huge stocks and hanging on to them for 2 weeks, and when mom and pop starts investing, they'll sell theirs and steal the fucking money. Rinse and repeat since Conference of Parties 29 last year. That's the scam, right? I've done a whole fucking presentation on it. Sorry, long day, if you can't tell. A fucking tough day, man. Both of my hands are numb. A nuclear fusion, nine key moments, and I got a brutal fucking day tomorrow. I'm supposed to have that winch showed up. That other winch didn't show up the weekend, and now it's for tomorrow. So I'm going to have to put that in a rainstorm. Because I don't want to do it the next day because it's going to be just fucking miserable cold. We're getting there. 200 counts, 185 counts up in my right-hand corner. That's the typical nuclear plant evacuation. Pre-Fukushima was 185. Like, if this was pre-Fukushima, the Geiger counter was at 185, I'd just fucking run out of here. Wouldn't look back either. I like going back in there. Nuclear wasteland. And now everything is a nuclear wasteland. Nuclear fusion. There is no nuclear fusion. What are you talking about, you fucking lunatics? You're at least 50 years away. Geothermal is right there. It's right under your fucking feet. Oh, that's right. It's United Kingdom. National Nuclear Laboratory. You think the Idaho National Nuclear Laboratory or the Hanford is bad. You should get a load of these fucking guys down in the UK. They're literally the worst humans I've ever come across. Project to turn nuclear waste into nuclear waste. So instead of taking nuclear waste and burying it for 1 million years, you just stick it in your loved ones. I'm not kidding you either, right? And, like, they're making $1 billion smoke detectors a year. You wonder why they're not trying to store americium-241? Because they're sticking it in your fucking kids' room and in your houses. You really think that a toxic element that there's nothing on the planet with an autoimmune trigger to defend against is you're magically going to escape fucking any harm from that? Give you a fucking head shake. And when it falls off, give it a fucking kick. Better yet, send it to me. I'll give it a kick for you. Well, I would. Used to. Back in the good old days. United Kingdom. I would. These people are insane. They're vicious, like Kathleen or Geraldine Thomas, Dr. Geraldine Thomas, professor, academic, murders children with anthropogenic man-made radiation for kicks. She'd fucking do it for free, that one. They're receiving funding. They're always receiving funding to develop a new cancer treatment. You know, when they created radium, the first fucking thing they done was start sticking it in people. Then they made radium lipstick and radium makeup, radium eyeshadow. Who were they targeting, I wonder? Radium jewelry for children. Radium suppositories, radium toothpaste, radium lipstick, radium soap, radium fucking cleaner. That's why I won't buy antiques, is because radium polish was out there for like a decade before they ended up having to pull it because it killed so many people. That stuff's not going to go away for 5,500 years. So whatever antique furniture got polished with that is still going to be fucking brutal radiation. And you're not going to find it with my Geiger counter either. It's very expensive to get a Geiger counter to find that. You know, like every isotope out there, they've stuck it into people. They've never cured it. It's 2%. 2.3% in Australia, 2% in America will live 5 years after receiving it. And so the question is, what the fuck are you sticking this in the people for? Well, clearly it's a genocide machine. The bigger the lie, the easier it is to sell, apparently. It's very scary how crazy these people actually are. Let me give you a little boot. Targeted alpha therapy. So they were talking about using 212 lead. PB stands for lead. Radioactive lead, though, from a chain reaction from nuclear waste. And it has a 10-hour half-life. It decays... They got the decay chain there at that. I screwed that up today. Hang on. That's the decay chain there. Eventually, even like when it decays down to lead, it's still radioactive lead. It's still going to be harmful to microorganisms and everything else. It never goes away, right? And there's nothing on the planet with not immune trigger to defend against it. To be able to use the skills and techniques they have developed to save lives is an incredible legacy, says the fucking disaster nightmare. He said, what is most remarkable is the fact that this uranium has already powered our homes. Just wait, hang on a second. Just wait for it. Bloop, 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 bloop. There we go. And is now being reused to potentially save lives, Dana. Yeah, it's going to save lives. Oh my God. Let me explain to you what happens when you stick radiation in you, because this is kind of important. Introduction to radiation injuries. A silent epidemic. It's only silent because people refuse to speak about it. It's a genocide, right? Radiation-induced injuries to your visual pathways. So you go get radiation therapy, and you get radiation injuries to your visual pathways, radiation injuries to the hearts, cardiac injuries following treatment from radiation therapy, radiation-induced cardiac injuries, Radiation-induced lung injuries, central nervous system, and hypoxia, radiation-induced bowel injuries. Sounds like a fucking hoot, don't it? Why would you want to get something stuck in you that ends up doing all of this to you? Intestine injuries, kidney injuries, radiation, breast litigation, radiation injury, central nervous system radiation injuries, cranial nerves, lung injury, radiation injuries to the head, radiation-induced brain injuries after radiation therapy. Yummy radiation brain injuries. So many of them studies that would blow your mind. Lung injuries from radiation, small bowel, radiation therapy, they call it. Radiation-induced intestinal syndromes. By the way, vitamin C could help you if you're exposed to this stuff. Radiation-induced brain necrosis. We've got some horror stories of what they've done to kids. My favorite, radiation-induced rectal injuries. See, like, and a lot of this won't show up for a year or 2 or 3. It destroys the quality of your fucking life permanently on top of that. You kill every cell in your body for something that's never fucking cured anybody. Just mass genocide. By the way, it's not illegal to murder you with radiation because otherwise they couldn't use it in the hospital to do exactly that to every fucking person that goes in there. I'm not going to go through the rest of it because I don't want people to run away screaming tonight. But let me just flash through it. All these fucking studies. And I can't show you a fucking study where it actually worked. The side effects are fucking nuts. Hang on, we get back down here to the show. Like, if you don't realize by now, after seeing that, what's really going on with this industry, stick around, you'll get it. Feds indict First Energy executives for racketeering. Racketeering. Well, ain't that something? You know, something else can be indicted for racketeering is the media pretending they're on top of Fukushima Reactor 4 reactor, 150 feet above that stump to your left, nuclear meltdowns. There was 8 fuel pools in each of the reactors. There's 4 reactors melted down. No, Dana, Chernobyl was the world's worst accident. Really? Call in. Explain that to me. 709-589-4406 here in Canada. I'll sort you out. Feds indict, and that's what they took down, what's his face? Racketeering. This should be used against all the media for promoting nuclear or lying for the nuclear industry. And you'll win every fucking time. Because that's what that law is all about, the racketeering statute. In connection with a $1 billion nuclear plant bailout scheme, the largest corruption scandal in state history. State history, not country, but state. Now, there's a lot larger than that going on. They just haven't caught them. Every nuclear plant's doing it. That's the only way they can exist. Bribing officials. House Bill 6 passed, and to derail a potential ballot issue to repeal it. Remember all that controversy? We covered it. Radanzo was also charged in both federal and state courts for his role. And Dead Man Tells No Tales. So he disappeared. He died by suicide, rather. I'm sorry. If you believe that one. Householder, of course, is serving 20 years in federal prison. So the racketeering statute works. And it should be applied heavily to the nuclear industry. Israel's going to strike Iran's nuclear facility. They've been striking nuclear facilities in Iran and Syria. These people are fucking nuts. But they're going to strike actually up and running nuclear facilities this time. First off, Iran's nuclear enrichment facilities are deep underground. They got tens of thousands of miles of tunnels. They want a war. If they want a war, go ahead and strike Iran. Iran will be happy to oblige you. They've been silent now for 40 years, 50 years. They haven't attacked anybody. But those days are over. If Israel wants to lose its water, electricity, its wharfage for unloading container ships and oil and everything else, you want to lose all that in one day. And of course, that'll cause mass inflation around the world if that happens. Pick on, because they're going to take out all the oil in the Gulf and everywhere else, right? What is it? Connecticut's Democrats energy proposal includes an override of the state's 4-year moratorium. Is that 40 years? Hang on. 40-year moratorium on nuclear power plants for the construction of small modular reactors. They overturned it, but they don't have anybody with an application into the regulatory agency. I mean, there's countries out there that don't have a moratorium, and they're not trying to build any of the small modular reactors or large ones. And to allow for the construction of small modular reactors. Again, this is only meant to artificially inflate the stocks of the small modular reactor companies. They're not trying to build a reactor, yet they're on the stock market. They don't have a product, yet they're on the stock market. Corruption is now Orwellian, right? To tackle rising, no. It was, they said, and when you seen the, I don't know if I got it there, but like when I seen the headline, it was to allow for the Earth for global warming or whatever. Hang on. It's a carbon-free source. Every time you hear the word carbon-free, like, which was a campaign by BP Oil, where they paid thousands of media to come out and blame you, and they created that term carbon footprint. The United Nations stuck that in their pocket and now uses to bludgeon people worldwide with it. Right? It wasn't even an academic study. It was a fucking public relation campaign after the Valdez ship killed all the breeding grounds in Alaska, right? With oil. You know, I experienced it when I was a kid. I grew up in a little community. We still have no automobiles. There's only 65 people there now. And they coated the whole fucking harbor, the whole coastline was coated with oil, but the whole harbor was too. And so they didn't try to clean up the coastline. They just came into the community, and they brought in a huge amount of paper towels, and they wanted you to go down and just wipe the rocks off, right? The harbor was full of oil. It was symbiotic, right? They got their pictures and they put that in the media and everybody was happy, and then they got back and their ship and left, right? I remember distinctly going down there laughing, saying, this is ridiculous. You're going to give me how much money to go do this? I'll go do it, but it's absurd. Then as I grew older, I realized what they had fucking done. Evil pricks. Represents 40% of the Connecticut's energy generation, almost all of its clean energy generation. Nuclear is the most resource-intensive industry, period. It needs 2 gas, oil, and coal plants just to operate. And its emissions can't be contained from the fuel pools. It's a nuclear meltdown every day at every nuclear power plant going on in emissions from the fuel pools. The fuel is taken out of the reactor after 14 months, put in a pool. It's still splitting atoms. There's no containment. And so you're saturating the whole planet, but particularly that area, which is always farms as far as you can see, active farms. So you can't even go to a supermarket anymore. And almost all of it's clean energy. So they're saying they have no renewables there, basically, is what they just said. And so they're calling nuclear, which should be challenged under the racketeering statutes, clean energy or carbon-free. It's the most resource-intensive industry. I mean, each reactor needs a million gallons, 4,500 tons a minute. Imagine standing in front of your fucking house, and you got 4,500 one-ton pickup trucks blasting past your house every fucking minute. 24 hours a day, year after year. Oh, it's carbon-free, Dana. Shut the fuck up, man. People like that. So all of these people should be prosecuted because these are blatant fucking lies. Oh, when you talk about a new technology like small modular reactors, there's a lot of work going around all around the world. I think we're looking at 2030s or so. So there was all this propaganda on small modular reactors. It was really something. But the idea of that was to promote and I thought I had it there. Like, first off, global solar hit 660 gigawatts. A reactor is basically 0.85 of a gigawatt, a large reactor. The small modular reactor is going to be running on mixed plutonium mixed oxide fuel, for fuck's sakes. High SE, high grade fuel. The emissions from that are going to wreck your child's health, wreck your health, wreck your pets, every species. They've already been fucking wrecked from Fukushima. It says low mobile prices will drive demand. Oh, low mobile, blah, blah, blah. How's everybody doing here? Let me see. Yeah, Moss Landing. I got that story there, actually, John. Plutonium-seeded battery meltdown at Moss Landing. They have one of the biggest idiot battery. Why would you use batteries when you can use geothermal? Aiming for an annual growth rate of 40% on average. I think it was more than 40% last year that it grew. 600. It's like 700 large nuclear power plants, nuclear reactors coming online in 1 year. They don't even have small modular reactors. All their hopes and dreams are pinned on small modular reactors. And by volume, they're going to produce, if you scale them up to a large reactor, a small modular reactor, they're going to produce 5 times more fuel rods that are splitting atoms forever. They're going to produce 35 times more intermediate level waste, and which is lethal, by the way, and 30 times more high level waste, which is even fucking worse. Right? And when you scale up, and you're talking about plutonium mixed oxide fuel. And the emissions from a normal reactor is 1 billion times more toxic than industrial poison. I don't know if you wrap your fucking mind around that. But a single atom will trigger a permanent autoimmune response in your body. Your body attacks with white blood cells for the rest of your life. Every second, trying to build a tumor around it. Eventually it will, if you live long enough. Unless you get a lot of it into you, and then you got leukemia because you're producing more white blood cells than red blood cells, right? Because your body attacks it. And this stuff is in your body. It's pulsing energy at the speed of light every second. So your body has to repair all that damage every second and attack the source every second for the rest of your life. Like, you cut your finger, it might heal 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 days. And then your red blood cells comes back to normal, which, provide stupid stuff like oxygen and nutrition. And for every white blood cell, you displace a red blood cell. Why small modular reactors and CCJ are advancing today. Right? NuScale, Camco. Like, there's less reactors coming online each year than is going offline. There's no fucking nuclear renaissance, period. And just because stocks are climbing, that's because of the scumbag media like Insider Monkey or Motley Fool, with a huge audience, a big network behind them. Right, they were gobbled up by the industry, by the public relation firms. Over 70 gigawatts of nuclear power is now being built worldwide. How the fuck do you quantify that? Where? How come I haven't heard of it? I'm only at this 5 days a week, week after week, month after month, year after year after year, decade after decade. How come I don't know about this? Because it's not fucking happening. There's no supply chain out there. They don't have the manpower to pull it off on top of that. And they steal everything. Boop. Texas urges the Supreme Court to block nuclear waste site. which is Holtec, Chris Singh, I bet you, if I remember correctly. We'll cover this a lot. That don't mean the Supreme Court will do it, but Texas is, you want to fuck with Texas, man. They're the real rednecks. Thousands of metric tons of spent fuel. So all of that stuff splitting atoms into the environment 24 hours a day. It's an elixir of hell. The emissions, like the illnesses from radioactive fallout, and that's what we're talking about here, perpetual radioactive fallout from this stuff. You can't contain it, see? So it's always vented into the environment. And it's vented on the highway all the way fucking there. Everything hurts. Just got to make it through tomorrow. I'm stupid, I'm going to fucking work tomorrow. Then the next day it's going to be just... Snow is going to start to gather up every day after that, by the looks of it. It's going to be bitter cold temperatures, so it's not going to melt and go away like we've been looking at. Which would threaten the state's air, water, and land. Which the state's air, this is such an important statement, would threaten the state's air. Because the fuel rods are still splitting atoms and you can't contain it. Everything is vented on the highways. One big stupid fucking disease factor is just the only thing you can call anything nuclear. So it's very fucking offensive to see UFC playing a nuclear meltdown. They didn't even have the courage to put the word nuclear there. Spineless fucking turds who done that. New York nuclear plant owner looks to build a small nuclear reactor. Like, wow, it's just fucking crazy how much propaganda was out there the weekend, wasn't it? You don't even have an application into the regulatory agency. How the fuck are you going to build a small modular reactor? What a fucking industry that is co-opting the energy worldwide for something that don't even fucking exist. Am I swearing too much? I don't know. Here we go again. Look, small modular reactors, the future of South Africa energy. A risk or a gamble. Is global nuclear capacity set to break records? What the fuck are you talking about? It's been going backwards post-Fukushima. Since Fukushima. Yeah, I do believe it was only lithium too. That's right. Well, who knows, right? These are... You're talking about a pretty sadistic industry. South Africa's eyeing small modular reactors. What the... Like, how can you eye something that don't fucking exist? And after 80 years, if it doesn't exist, guess fucking what? Do you got to be a genius for me to answer that one? No. Is global nuclear capacity set to break records? I just hate these people. They're just scum, eh? They're guilty on their country's version of the racketeering statutes of doing what they're doing. Sweden embarks on controversial nuclear waste project. Controversial. Wasn't expecting that. Pretty rare to see any dissenting fucking voices anymore. We'll store the waste for 100,000 years. What are you talking about, man? If you stick it underground, it melts down. It doesn't need oxygen to burn at 9,000 degree Fahrenheit temperatures. It'll burn like that forever. Requires further research on the safety of the protective capsules. Oh, this is they're going to put like a tenth of an inch or something on of copper on the Kevlar, on the so-called sarcophagus, the nuclear cast, 50,000 pound cast. And they're going to put a aluminum copper around it. That's going to stop it from fucking dissipating for 1 million years, do you say? This is a Canadian team that done that actual research. It doesn't work that way. The neutron bomb, we're talking about fucking fuel. So the neutron bombardment, the beta rays, the alpha rays, the gamma shines, the X-rays will break down the integrity of fucking Kevlar will break down the integrity of titanium. You really fucking think it's not going to eat the shit out of copper? And if you know anything about copper, copper is a very electrically vulnerable element, right? So if there's any kind of moisture there, that stuff will fucking rot right away, quicker than anything else. And when this stuff melts down, they're going to put all their eggs in that one fucking basket. So when it melts down, you will lose the planet for millions of years. Nothing will be able to live on this planet. Because eventually, when that touches water, water expands at around 1,400 cubic feet per liter. At 9,000 degree Fahrenheit temperatures, what's going to happen when it touches any water? You're going to split the fucking earth open, and that chain reaction mess, where it's cannibalizing steel and rocks and cement and everything else, is atomizing, aerosoling, ionizing, radiating it. We'll be pumping that out of those fucking fissions in the earth, like you see at Fukushima, right? From the China syndrome they had at reactor 1 and 2 there. Who knows what happened to the spent fuel pool? Everything was pixelated out, same as reactor 6. The repository will consist of 37 miles of tunnels built at a depth of 1,600 feet in rocks that are once you fucking drill into the rocks, it no longer has integrity. Yeah, it's 1.6 billion years over, but now it's new. You drilled a fucking hole into it. The hole wasn't there 1.9 million years ago. It's new. And so when you change the dynamics with all that weight above it, and the gravity and the spinning of the earth and everything else, the spent nuclear fucking fuel is not spent. It's only 3% of it is so-called spent. It still has the integrity of, once you go through a chain reaction, everything's changed. Once you take it out of chain reaction, it's still splitting atoms. It's still producing heat. You know, think about this. It boils water to power 1 million homes and businesses every second by splitting atoms. When you take it out, you're still splitting the same fucking atoms. And you have no containment anymore. Where do you think that's going? And when everything on the planet, you're talking about heart problem, liver problem, lung problem, respiratory, pituitary, thyroid, adrenaline, Alzheimer's, dementia, autism, diabetes, Down syndrome, schizophrenia. Have you seen fucking spikes and all that over the last 13 years post-Fukushima? I know you have. 16-foot copper capsules. They're not copper. They got a 1/10 of an inch coating. And that the Wigner effect, don't give a fuck if it was 10 feet, it'll still destroy the integrity of it. Right, the gamma shines, the neutron bombardments, the beta rays, the alpha rays, the X-rays. But see, right, to get you tied up, what people don't realize is they're burying it under the fucking ocean. It's right under the ocean. So when it melts down, that ocean's coming in. That's their old shit planet, every fucking nuclear power plant. Is built by large bodies of water so that when it melts down, the water will ingress in there and they can pretend that everything is fucking hunky-dory when it's not. I mean, they paved the whole harbor, cemented the whole harbor at Fukushima because it ejected the fuel pools and reactor cores from number 3 right out there. And just like, that's a temporary solution because it's still splitting atoms, still generating heat. It'll still you can't resolve it by doing that. So $1.8 billion. Canada's got fucking $26 billion for 18 years. Never grew a cent of interest. And all that fucking time. How interesting, eh? And the same thing. They're going to dig a big fucking hole and dump everything down there. Is the Moss Landing, every time I did earlier, is Moss Landing power plant nuclear? No. What we know as fire at the world's biggest battery storage facility to prompts evacuation orders. Well, lithium is unfreaking believably toxic, right? And so the people's homes and their properties and the kids' the playgrounds and the schools and the banks and the malls and all the automobiles are going to be fucking covered in this dust that's incredibly toxic. And if you take that clothing you're wearing outdoors, it's going to become in bed with that and bring it home and wash it in your laundry, you're going to contaminate everybody else's beddings and towels and face cloths and clothing. It's insidious what they're doing. Why would you build a fucking battery site when they could have done geothermal with 3 times, they would have 3 times the storage for half the fucking price. You're never going to worry about anything toxic ever. Why would you use geothermal? 1.2 gigawatt hours. It was the biggest battery. Stupid fucking battery. I just despise them for doing that, eh? What we got going on the pole here? Let's check that out. Did Fukushima radioactive fallout break the food chain in all oceans, resulting in mass die-offs worldwide? Well, I got 17 people on my show. Holy shit. I figured they were going to cinch me worse than that tonight. UFC's like, they only got 17 people watching the show. Who gives a fuck about them? We're going to keep being evil. Why is every nuclear power plant surrounded by farms, I wonder? Oh, that's the best way to poison everybody, isn't it? The UK government has promised a record now, 410 million to the nuclear industry. For fusion. You're 50 years away from it. Why are you looking at fusion when you have geothermal, you pieces of shit? A little colorful tonight. My apologies, everybody. Whenever I'm busted up, I got a tendency to get like that. I don't give a fuck anyway. And deliver a future powered by limitless clean energy. Like, calling fusion clean is absurd. The amount of tritium-3H you're going to produce with these fucking things, the studies that they've already done on it are fucking frightening. It's a catastrophic event for the whole fucking planet is what each one of them is going to be. Ed Miliband. Like, what the fuck is the nuclear industry going to do with a lousy 410 million sterlings or pounds? What is it in the United Kingdom? Pounds, is it? Because they used to be part of the European Union, and there's so much fucking bullshit. Yeah, a lot of stress. Rough day yesterday. Rough fucking day today. I got a rough day tomorrow. Still. It's the juice of life, though, for me, I think, is I'm constantly busy. I'm just not healthy enough to do the things I'm doing, right? You know, what I've done today should have took 40 minutes. It took me almost 5 hours. I was filthy like a fucking pig, too, when I came in the house, because it's warmed up today, and so there's all this fucking mud out there. Because I got everything trotted. I'm always out there. I got everything turned into fucking mud now. That's just the way life is. I just accept that is the way life is. It's not normal to be like this, but because I have to do everything myself. Fucking stupid nuclear industry destroys everything. Might as well pick on them. Which could help construct a world-leading fusion power project on the site of an old coal plant and non. So you got a coal plant. Why not use that for geothermal instead of this fucking idiot machine? I personally like, why you take all these scientists that work on fusion. It's an absurd amount. There's like just one project, the big worldwide project. There's 5,500 nuclear physicists working on it. Right, theorists and 5,500 on just one project. How much does that fucking cost every year? And they're no closer now than they were 50 years ago. Going to use magnets to control 175 million degree Fahrenheit temperatures. Really? You fucking people are nuts. You're just useless fuckers on our planet. And deliver a future powered by limitless clean energy. Shut the fuck up. It's the most resource-intensive industry in human history. Duke Energy, part of a team seeking $800 million grant for small modular reactors. So Joe Biden is going out, so they're just fucking throwing money out there now, and everybody's gobbling it up before Donald Trump gets in there. Who's probably going to throw more out there. Canada and Fukushima town. This is right alongside a nuclear wasteland. This is like 2 kilometers away from 4 ongoing nuclear meltdowns, and where 32 fuel pool reactors and fuel pools also melted fucking down. So 36 reactor cores melted down. They're 2 fucking miles away from it. Candidates in the town can't find anybody because no one's there. It's a nuclear wasteland. And he's got no opposition. There's nobody else running for the mayor of a nuclear wasteland. And so they've probably had to bust these homeless people in from Tokyo. A Fukushima, and Kuma must be doing the same thing on the other side of the nuclear disease factory called Fukushima, right? The mayor and the municipal assembly elections began on January the 16th in this depleted nuclear wasteland. Depleted. Fucking idiots. Crippled. Like, to call these reactors crippled is insanely scumbaggish. The building doesn't fucking exist anymore. That's 9 reactor cores were ejected out of the fucking building. Well, I'm sorry, burnt, crisped up when China syndrome and everything else. Look at these carbon-free fucking sites. They use more carbon than anything else on the fucking planet. Or everything on the planet. Come on. There we go. So when you look at the building to the left, the fuel pools are at the very top of the fucking building. So how is the mainstream media, ABC Australia, Cecilia Vega, BBC Rupert Winfield Hayes, CBS, these are all the biggest medias in different countries, CBS Seth Dorn, and CNN, which is just a poison to humanity. Although evacuation orders were lifted in some parts, yeah, like there was a square mile or something, because they wanted to be able to bring the homeless in on the subway. Not subway, but the trains. Because that's who's working at the nuclear disease factory, Fukushima. Is the homeless, the destitute, the victims of society, the immigrants who don't speak the language. I bet you there's nobody from the UFC fucking stayed this long in the video. Integrity is so hard to come across sometimes. Some parts of Fukushima in August 2022, 3% of the registered residents have returned to their hometown. 3% were complacent and lulled into that. The triple meltdown. Not triple nuclear meltdown, not meltdowns with an S, plural. It's 4 nuclear reactors melt down. They hate to admit, they won't admit that melted down, right? They're not admitting that is destroyed. Even today, they refuse to acknowledge it. And they can't because all the international media pretended they were in the fuel pool of a building that don't exist. The situation is presenting a unique challenge for campaigners trying to reach voters. Like, you're talking about a fucking nuclear... You're right alongside of nuclear meltdowns. Why are you trying to manipulate and trick and deceive people to go back there, you piece of shits? You low fucking life scum. Undermining the foundation of local politics and democracy. There is no, like, democracy is you don't go back into a nuclear fucking wasteland, you disgusting maggot. And that's the way it is, though, with the nuclear, right? I don't know how to sugarcoat this stuff. I apologize. I just don't know how to sugarcoat fucking evil scum monsters. Degenerate. I just don't know how to do it, right? These are terrorists that are doing this. It's fucking appalling. It's atrocious. It's disgusting. Despicable. To bring people into a nuclear wasteland. Let me see if I find some better words. It's shocking. It's shameful. That's what it is. It's corruptible. It's malfeasance. It's Machiavellian is what we're really seeing. In the chilling weather to complete their projects before a milestone event in the town's rebuilding efforts from the nuclear accident. Nuclear accidents never fucking go away, man. Let me give you an example. If all the pro-nuclear community was to jump off a cliff, would anybody complain? No. You know, the bottom chart map of radioactive fallout is only 26 fucking days, and that all the models agree upon that. That's the consensus for radioactive fallout. So how fucking bad is it going to be at ground zero? So think this is radioactive fallout from Fukushima according to the French government, but think of that as a snowstorm that starts in Fukushima, and we're at day 10, and we're at day 15, we're at almost day 20, right here, day 20. There's 20 days of radioactive fallout of 1 million to 10 million atoms of cesium-137 per cubic meter of air. Gas and oil and coal emissions only make carbon when you can't have trees or plants or babies or puppies or food or anything or insects, nothing without carbon. And so the scam is to blame everything on carbon when it's actually the nuclear industry. So this is an invisible plume of a snowstorm of radioactive fallout. And every snowflake, which is an actual, think of it as a snowflake. So every snowflake, which is a man-made anthropogenic atom, pulses energy at the speed of light. What do you think is going to eventually happen? Droughts, and when the earth has no fungus and bacteria, it doesn't soak up water anymore, guess what happens? You get flash floods. Guess what happens in the forest when you got no water? You have forest fires that never fucking go away because everything is tender dry, right? It's not a nuclear accident, a nuclear event. It's not crippled, it's destroyed. And the heaviest fallout, nuclear fallout from the crippled, does that look like it's fucking crippled to you? That's reactor 3 and to your left and reactor 4 behind me. It's swindly, right? This wicked, evil, ghastly, repulsive industry. This horrendous. These are terrorists. That's what this industry is full of. Crippled. Does that look like it's fucking crippled to anybody? If that was your building, someone said, and your manager sent you the picture and said, "Don't worry, it's only crippled," you'd fire him right on the spot, right? And call your insurance company. Just 4 kilometers southeast of the train station, where they ship all the homeless in. Foot of our official envisions about 2,000 victims will return to live in the nuclear wasteland in the next 2 fucking years. It's considered deeply over-optimistic, I think. So the 5.6 square kilometers around the train station covered is a difficult to return zone. We in North America would call them nuclear wastelands because, that's what they fucking are. Meaning that entry is still prohibited because of high radiation levels. It's a difficult to return because of high radiation levels. So you keep putting that connotation, difficult to return zone. Eventually you take care of the difficult and you only have return zones, see? Instead, because if you call it a nuclear wasteland, if you take away nuclear, you still got a wasteland. Get it? That's the problem with grammar. They use it as a weapon. Like, you can decontaminate it 1 million times, but the whole country is radioactive. It'll be just as contaminated the next day. And you can't decontaminate. You got to take up every fucking building, every piece of sidewalk, every infrastructure has to be taken to a nuclear holding site because you can't contain it and you can't really store it to make the place livable. And the majority of people that are saying that, if you try to drag them to that spot, they'll claw your fucking eyes open because they're not going there. This is crazy. Fukushima and Akuma officials have been relentless in their efforts to revive their hometowns. The reactors are still fucking melting down and probably will for the next 3,000 years. Like, if I take you to New York and take you to the New York dump, and we go into the middle of the dump, and I got this fucking 2 acres or 2 square miles cleared out, and I got trees planted and everything else. I got a free fucking house there for you. You gonna move into it? No. You know why? Because you can see it. It's a fucking dump. But with anthropogenic man-made radiation, you can't smell it or see it or hear it or feel it or taste it or touch it or pick it up or throw fucking rocks at it or perceive it. Does that mean it's not fucking real? Does that mean it's not real? And there's no one here to answer me. It's crazy. No, Dane, it's not real. Thank you. Thank you. Yeah, no, I got thyroid problems there, Joe, you moron. It doesn't work that way. Just saying. Fucking scumbags, eh? No, I was out on research expeditions. I got fucking poisoned. Stupid. Fukushima and Akuma officials have been relentless in their efforts to revive their hometowns. In response to the officials' persistent request, the central government in August 2014 announced a vision to rebuild the municipalities. In 2014, the reactors will be melting down for 3 years. So a couple of years after the nuclear meltdown started, no one could live in those towns. No one should be ever in those towns, right? I like how people come here and they attack me, but they're too stupid to ask themselves, why is the media pretending they're on top of a building that don't exist? Like, how does that fucking work? How do you get that stupid? Really, how do you get that fucking stupid? 2 years later, it set a policy of lifting evacuation orders for part of the no-entry zone in the nuclear wasteland. So, like, if Joe's children were forced to go back there and live, he would get it, right? He's too busy humping his buddies in the fucking gym all the time. Covered 340 square kilometers over 7 municipalities in the prefectures, including 96% of the land in Fukushima. The central government has repeatedly pledged to continue to work to have the evacuation orders lifted for all of the nuclear wasteland, no matter how long it will take. And so you see this incredibly disgusting contempt over and over and over when it comes to the nuclear industry. There's nothing too evil. They'll poison everybody and they don't give a fuck about anybody. They spent $23 billion picking up 30 million one-ton bags of radiation. But has yet to estimate the cost needed to decontaminate the remaining most polluted zones. Has yet to estimate the cost needed to decontaminate. The whole fucking country is contaminated. You got 865,000 extra cancers in the first fucking year. You had 365,000 children out of 1 million with thyroid tumors of 2 centimeters, which is the size of their thyroids, which means they're producing radioactive hormones for the rest of their life. You know, obesity rates doubled in Japan within 1 year of Fukushima. And what is it? 74% of Americans are obese. 90% of Canadians post-Fukushima are obese because they shipped all that fucking radioactive food here. And obesity after nuclear meltdown is a marker of radioactive brain damage. It's a catastrophic assault upon your health. It has yet to estimate the cost needed to decontaminate the remaining most polluted zones, which is the whole country. Tokyo was at 28 million atoms of just cesium-137 per fucking square meter underground. Just because you can't smell it or see it or hear it or feel it or taste it or touch it or perceive it, don't mean that you're going to be fucking safe from it. The party that caused the nuclear accident is responsible for restoring the conditions of the pre-disaster days, the mayor said. So a company that was nationalized immediately after the nuclear accident, which is the government took over, is who's really in charge, right? Because they were bankrupt. They couldn't cover the expenses. So rather than blame the nuclear industry, you're going to blame a company who didn't build the reactors. For starters, they're not decommissioning experts. They were despised by the whole country immediately after and ever since. So it's better to blame a company that can go bankrupt than it is to blame the nuclear industry, which caused this and knew it shouldn't exist in the first fucking place. The mayor said they cannot even think about rebuilding plans if many tracts of land remain heavily irradiated. Survey, most evacuees still feel Fukushima plant poses a danger. Most evacuees still feel the nuclear wasteland. So, like, you can't go back to the graveyards to visit your loved ones. You got to run away and leave your schools, your universities, your shops, your community, your pets to starve to death. You got to leave all your prized possessions, your family heirlooms, your security, your sanity, your friends. Everything is destroyed. And then you're going to pick up 30 million one-ton bags to try to persuade people to go back into the nuclear wasteland, which is just 3% of the land that was contaminated. Fudabar, when he made his way inside the dilapidated house. No, it's a fucking nuclear wasteland. It's not a dilapidated. It is dilapidated, obviously. It's a nuclear wasteland. The floor squeaked and the radioactive dust rose in the air as he walked, but he should never have been back there. The degenerate fucks that let him go back there so they can get their pictures and come out, pretend that everything. It's radioactive dust. It's a nuclear wasteland, for goodness sakes. You just poison them, you fuckers. I need to come here to confirm anew that I have a house and land to protect. You can't protect anything in a nuclear wasteland, man. That's what I mean. And so here, then in the same thing, you got. They never stopped growing food in the nuclear fucking wasteland and shipping that worldwide. Let me try to help you appreciate the fucking madness of how evil this fucking industry is. If you got a brain on your shoulder, that is. These are communities over there. And the next row is population in 2010. And the average disposition is of only cesium, not uranium, plutonium, americium, ruthenium, strontium. Not the biggest byproduct of radiative fuel fucking rods, which is the curium isotopes, which is an assault upon everything with replicating cells. And we're talking about per square fucking meter, 39,000 per square meter counts per minute. Like 180 atoms per square meter was considered a wasteland at a nuclear site. Now you got people fucking living, like Fukushima City is 229,000 fucking people in it, 296,000 people in a nuclear wasteland of absurd numbers. You got to multiply the madness that you're going to be breathing it in, you're going to drink it, you're washing your clothing in it, you're eating it, you're feeding it to your kids every day. You're going to compromise your children are going to be producing massive amounts of white blood cells because they're infested with this fucking stuff and they're attacking it. They're going to be producing permanent radioactive hormones with their thyroid gland, and they're going to be producing permanent mutated stem cells in their fucking bones because you're in a nuclear wasteland. You can't escape it. Koriyama City. 341,000 people, 162,000 atoms per square meter. All of these numbers are insane. And so they left all these people behind, sacrificed them, growing food in a nuclear fucking wasteland, and then they're selling it. Shipping it to Canada-U.S. And you get fucking meatheads like Joe come by. One-trick ponies in martial arts, probably. Playing their fucking games. Because they're too stupid and ignorant to understand fucking actual science. Plans for Canada-U.S. nuclear energy pact is troubling. Well, I don't know what they're talking about. The United States has been running the national laboratories here in Canada for decades, for fuck's sakes, already. Premier continues to prop up the nuclear industry and please lobbyists by disregarding inherent dangers, which is the time of, I think, Doug Ford in Ontario, Central Canada. The nuclear industry runs Canada. There is no Canada. There's the fucking nuclear industry. They call all the shots in this country since the 50s. They've ruined the country and poisoned it. But they can't do reactors, right? The perpetual tritium-3H producers. They can't contain it. Like the New Brunswick plant is releasing legally 16,400,000 trillion atoms of tritium-3H every fucking day. Legally, with a 120-year life, into the environment. The bioaccumulation of that, like up around Pickering, Ontario, close to the plants, the pregnant women were found with over 1 million atoms. And so every one of those children would have had incredible learning difficulties. There would have been incredible amounts of stillbirths and congenital malformations. A lot of people are transient too, right? They're moving in and out of those areas, huge workforces up there. This is troubling as it prioritizes costly, high-risk nuclear projects over viable, sustainable, cost-effective, renewable energy sources. Viable, sustainable. Why are we talking, saying the words geothermal? That's the only thing I don't understand. Canadian taxpayers are paying $7.3 billion each year for nuclear energy in Ontario. Not counting what the ratepayers pay for their bills. They're subsidizing an extra $7.3 billion each year because you can't exist without mass robbing of the country's precious fucking resources. That's absurd, isn't it? Nuclear, the world's stupidest fucking energy source. The most ridiculous energy too, right? It's just like talking to 3-year-olds. An estimated cost of $25 billion for your plan to build 4 small modular reactors. They don't have a fucking application into the regulatory agency, which is a 10-year ordeal, 1 million pieces of paper. Like, they're so far away from that coming to fruition. They got the money. It's just, before everybody wakes up, they'd steal everything now. They're gone into full mode, fuck you. Other costs include transporting nuclear waste, addressing accidents, spills, or meltdowns. I urge you to reconsider your stance on nuclear energy and adopt a leadership role in advancing renewable energy solutions that are in the best interest of Ontario. Like, I really like to know who the fuck brought a Meltdown game to the UFC weigh-in. What the fuck was going in there? What kind of moron would do that, I wonder? What kind of fucking pea brain would do something like that? It's clearly a fucking Jap that done that, isn't it? Only Jap would do something that fucking stupid. French-Italian collaboration of small modular reactor deployment. Yeah, well, the fucking memorandum of this World Nuclear News, which is a lobbying group, but promoting small modular reactors, like in the media, when you don't have a small modular reactor anywhere on the fucking planet, and no likelihood within the next couple of decades, of even just a test reactor showing up. So they can rob the unsuspecting investors, is what it's all about. Perpetual scumbags. So the French collaboration in small modular reactor deployment, and they always show you farms, eh? The French legacy is ridiculous. 70% of their fresh water goes to the nuclear industry, like the Rhine River and the big glacier rivers that they used to have, because they melted the glaciers with the perpetual fallout. They always can't crystallize, right? The agreement also provides for training activities, exchange for know-how between researchers and PhD students. Like, what are you talking about know-how? You don't have a product. You have companies on the stock exchange for small modular reactors like NuScale and Oklo and Nano, but you don't have a fucking reactor. How is that even possible? Who the fuck is going to invest in you for 50, 60, 70 years so they can get $1 back on their investment? Nobody, right? So it's a Ponzi scheme, just meant to rip off the unsuspecting investors. Rinse and recycle every couple of weeks. Floating nuclear power plant completes the first. This is crazy, folks. So the academic, the Ruskies derelict barge, they built with bits and pieces left over from nuclear construction sites, rusted pieces. That was a rusted ship too. They built it on. It was just an experiment, apparently. So then they took it up and plugged it in. But what they're doing now, they just took fuel out of it, and they're going to store it on the boat, and they say in a storage room. In a storage room. You don't store fucking nuclear fuel in a storage room. It's in a fuel pool. They didn't want to use the word fuel pool, so they call it storage room. Because the fuel pool is splitting atoms and boiling off that water into that community. Right into the fucking community. And up in the Arctic too, right? In the most pristine environment imaginable, they got this fucking disease factory. This floating Chernobyl. Now they got the fuel, finally took fuel out of the reactor core. They already took some out last year, I didn't know about it. And now they got the second lot taken out, and it's in the storage, what they call storage rooms. There is no fucking storage room. The fuel has to be underwater for decades. Right? The minute you take it out of the water, it fucking ignites the zirconium cladding. Yeah. Let me see. Let's check the poll out here. Did Fukushima radioactive fallout break the food chain in all oceans, resulting in mass die-offs worldwide? Yeah. Oh, fuck yeah, baby. That's what they done. I showed that earlier in the show. Could small nuclear reactors help curb extreme weather? Well, if you look at the supercell typhoons, the supercell cyclones, the supercell hurricanes, the flash floods, and the massive forest fires that won't go out, you can go all the way back to 2011, and this is where you'll see that pattern show up post-Fukushima, since Fukushima, right? So then all the die-off, tens of thousands of each species of whales showing up emaciated, severely emaciated, which means they went 6, 7, 8,000 kilometers without eating. They lose 12 inches of blubber. You have millions and millions of different species of migratory seabirds disappeared, and ones that did show up and they found in the millions, emaciated. Right? That's the broken food chain. To cut CO2 emissions. CO2 doesn't pulse energy at the speed of light every second for fucking millions of years. It grows trees and plants and animals and insects and puppies and everything else. Anthropogenic man-made radioactive fallout. So the forest fires are caused because the foliage in the litter is not breaking down anymore. Because we killed the bacteria and the fungus with a pulse event at Fukushima. 36 reactors melting down in the fuel pools, and the 4 reactors that were running. 3 were running and 1 was getting the fuel changed, but they only changed a portion of it. So the majority was still in the reactor. At the top of each of the buildings were 8 reactor cores and fuel pools. They all melted down. That's what we call a pulse event. And that caked the whole fucking planet, and we got the documentations that quantify those assertions. And so what happens is the litter and the foliage isn't breaking down because you killed the biota. And the reason you killed the biota is because you destroyed the fungus and the bacteria. And without that, you can't have a healthy biosphere or ecosystem, rather. So the water is not getting sucked up anymore, right? There's no foliage and litter breaking down, which is what would soak up the water and end up into the earth, right? And feed the trees and plants and everything. And what happens is, when it rains, the earth is so fucking dry because you killed off with radioactive fallout the biota that breaks down the foliage and the litter. All of that becomes tinder fucking dry. And so when you eventually get a lightning strike, you have these big chunks of foliage and litter floating up a mile or 2 and dropping down again. We've never had before. The ecosystem would always break down the foliage and the litter. And then by proxy now, because the earth is so dry, because it's lacking the ability now to soak up water, the water runs off it and then gathers up in the lowest points, and that causes these flash floods, right? And so the forest fires now are not like forest fires pre-Fukushima. Violent weather events, it can be tied directly post-Fukushima. And small modular reactors, which are 30, 40, 50 years away if they ever come to fruition, how the fuck is that going to help anything? But putting those headlines, that connotation out there, because nobody's ever done an anti-nuclear show before. Nobody. And then I'm a researcher. We spend years and years doing research expeditions. We're getting ready to start again now, even though I'm the farthest from being healthy. I got injured and taken out of. I was in perfect shape until 5 years ago. I was still like 165, and I got poisoned. I was exposed to evil in Britain. I mean, I've been retired since I was 35. I'm an ex-commercial diver. I got hurt on a 128-day diving trip. 6 hours a day on the ocean floor that I've done for years and years and years. And I ran some of the biggest operations out there. I lost a lot of good friends to the diving. I paid my fucking dues. It took me 10 years to learn to walk again, okay? I don't know how to give up. I'm not capable of it. BBC, I was exposed to evil in the British nuclear test. What Britain, the amount of money Britain's spending on their nuclear weapons, you can never use, by the way. It'd be just as well to buy everybody in Australia or Britain a fucking ostrich or something, because that's how much sense it makes. And these victims, he's 84 years old, have been abandoned. They were put in the most radioactive spot imaginable. They were made to walk through the most radioactive spots after the detonations. And they were denied, even today, like 10 administrations later, denied any ability for healthcare because the industry wanted to study these lab rats and their children, if they had any, as lab rats. And that's exactly what they've done. And we have the studies to quantify those assertions. And they've done that with everybody. The Ministry of Defense. So ministers were continuing to discuss issues with families. Yeah, they've been doing that for fucking 75 years. I mean, Britain went to Maralinga, Montebello in Australia. They went, and they also done 700 dirty bombs in Australia because they didn't want to radiate UK. They fucked up Christmas Island. The women over there have what they call jelly babies. WIPP pauses nuclear waste shipment for maintenance. And the story's beyond a paywall. I couldn't get to it. So I've been hunting around for others. WIPP, the Waste Isolation Pilot Project, was the original name. It was an experiment, right? And because no one's paying attention, then they got rid of the word project and put in the word plant. So they had a meltdown in 2014. And TV took my videos, chopped them up, and called me a conspiracy theorist. And the clips that they played, I was absolutely were great clips on the TV. But that's not how propaganda works, right? I had made a counter video at it. It was on my other site. They took down when I was out researching spiders, because that's a fucking crime. Where have all the spiders gone down there in the forest? They're in your houses. They're on your man-made buildings and vehicles. You'll see deformed webs on your houses and stuff like that. Maybe one or two insects in it. When was the last time most people cleaned insects off their windows post-Fukushima? They were wiped out pretty quick, too. Because they're getting full-body x-rays in the forest, right? From the gammas, the neutrons, the betas, the alphas are all slamming into each other almost at the speed of light. Yes, one strange industry. But I cannot, for the life of me, comprehend why there was a Meltdown game at a fucking weigh-in show for mixed martial arts for UFC. And Daniel Cormier. I love Daniel. And I love Laura, too. She's such a great commentator, right? Everybody used to mock her, but I tell you what, she's the first color commentator in Limerick. Chris Wiseman, who beat Anderson Silva, got the belt. Angela Hill, who was robbed, I don't know how many times, with the judges. They fucking robbed her. And how the fuck did we get a Meltdown game? How the hell did we get a Meltdown game on a UFC weigh-in show? How the fuck does that happen? It's not even a game. It's like something you would create for 3 and 4 and 5 and 6 year olds, for fuck's sakes. which Daniel basically is most of the time anyway. Bless his heart. when you live in that world, right, it's all about being silly. His career is over now. Right now, he's a commentator for UFC. All right, I made it this far, did we? I don't know if I'm going to play the Spanish and German songs. Pink Hydrogen. I put a link in the video at the beginning, in the comment section of that. I'm going to play. I thought we had this screen up there. We're going to play that song coming up in a minute. Pink Hydrogen. I love that fucking song, man. And Too Costly to Meter. That is an amazing song. I don't want to jinx James by commenting too often. Did Fukushima radioactive fallout break the food chain in all oceans, resulting in mass die-off worldwide? Give us a like if you're here, folks, and you still got a few minutes to give me a vote on that. And then the show is basically over. We're gonna rock out on James's Pink Hydrogen. I love that. That is so good, eh? That's got huge potential. And he's a Meltdown queen. I'm not going to say nothing tonight, but that song is just... that got incredible potential. Alright, so Pink Hydrogen is where they use nuclear power to make hydrogen. James decided to put out a video and mock it. And he's the most prolific anti-nuclear music producer in history. He's the first one to ever produce AI music and video.
They say it's safe, they say it's pure, nuclear reborn, that's the cure, wrapped up tight in pastel tones.
I gotta turn that up, sorry.
Look real close, there's danger there. They say it's safe, they say it's pure. Painted pink, they laugh and cheer. Trust us, nothing to fear. Fuel rods turn, the cycle spins. While they cash out, everyone grins. Sure, it's all safe here. But the cost they won't make clear. They say it's fake, they say it's pure. Painted pink, they laugh and cheer. Trust us, nothing to fear. Fuel rods turn, the cycle spins. While they cash out, everyone grins. Sure, it's all safe here. But the cost they won't make clear. So call it pink and mask the stain. Paint over waste, dismiss the pain. Keep the cycle, keep the game. Disguise the threat, shift the blame. Illusion, tricks and faces bright. Tell us lies wrapped up in light. Only keep the game, shift the blame. It's painted pink, it's all a show. Pink hydrogen wrapped up need. Nuclear is tricked, disguised is clean. Painted bright for all to see. A scheme that leaves us lost as a ball in tall weeds. A Trojan gift, dressed in a lie. A polished mask for what's so right. The future's here, they say it's bright, but hidden deep it's not so light. They say it's bright, they say it's bright. Say it's bright. Pink hydrogen wrapped up need. Nuclear is tricked, disguised is clean. Painted bright for all to see. A scheme that leaves us lost as a ball in tall weeds. They sell us dreams, they paint it bold, but what's hidden there is cold. A polished face, a crafted guise. Pink hydrogen, their perfect lie. Their perfect lie. What's this, what's left inside? A future built on what they hide. And mask the stain. Paint over waste, dismiss the pain. Keep the cycle, keep the game. Disguise the threat, shift the blame. Tricks and faces bright. Tell us lies wrapped up in light. The cycle, keep the game. Pink hydrogen wrapped up neat, nuclear's trick disguised as clean, painted bright for all to see, a scheme that leaves us lost as a ball in tall weeds. Pink hydrogen wrapped up neat, nuclear's trick disguised as clean, painted bright for all to see, a scheme that leaves us lost as a ball in tall weeds. They sell us the taint, the dirt white, the gloss, there's nothing right. They sell us dreams, they paint it bold, but what's hidden there is cold. A polished face, a crafted guise, pink hydrogen, their perfect lie. Their perfect lie. The massless. What's left inside a future built on what they hide. Hydrogen wrapped up neat, nuclear's trick disguised as clean, painted bright for all to see, a scheme that leaves us lost as a ball in tall weeds. Pink hydrogen wrapped up neat, nuclear's trick disguised as clean, painted bright for all to see, a scheme that leaves us lost as a ball in tall weeds. Pink hydrogen wrapped up neat, nuclear's trick disguised as clean, painted bright for all to see, a scheme that leaves us lost as a ball in tall weeds. A Trojan gift, dressed in a lie, a polished mask for what's awry.